So guys, welcome. If you're new here, where have you been? I've missed you. But if you're returning, thank you. You obviously haven't been deterred by my craziness, but welcome. Anyway, before I digress too much, this video is going to be about 4 watches, as you saw from the thumbnail, and they are all Submariner homages. So many people have reviewed these watches, and I can see why, but I want to put my spin on it, because I'm including a watch which I think should be and could be a real contender of being very much worth your attention. That's a Steeldive Submariner homage. There's not been much interest or information about these watches so far, and I want to be one of those people that brings you that information as a gift, and then you can do with it what you will. You can make an informed decision whether you want to take the plunge or not, and if you do, great. If you don't, there are other options. Thankfully, there are many. So I hope you enjoy this video. I've thoroughly enjoyed making it. But for now, and delve deep into the mind of Dan Dodson. So welcome to my first shootout video between 4 Submariner homages. Now, in the interest of transparency and honesty, I'm going to make sure I'm very clear at this stage a few key details. So the first thing's going to be this Steeldive. I've kindly been lent by steeldiveuk.com, and I'm going to have to do a bit of improvising with this watch because this is my own Pagani design, which I've done a few mods to. Now, I will review this, including what I remember and have seen from before I made the changes. And I've also done a review of this watch in its standard form. So if you're a subscriber, check out in the playlists. You'll see that this watch has been reviewed there. I've also done a successful review on how I did all the mods. And that's worth checking out if you're interested in how those kind of changes were done. And I've borrowed this watch, the Invicta, from my good friend Jim. Thanks, Jim. So I could get a good contrast between these watches. So now I've got out of the way, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to do a mini review with the stats and specs and my opinions on each watch individually. I'll do a collective lume shot to show you how they all differ, and then I'll finalize with a conclusion. So I really hope you enjoy each mini review, and you can jump back and forth between them to see which watch you want to have a bit more information on and help you be hopefully a bit more informed. And remember guys, everything I discuss here is, when it's an opinion, it's just an opinion. And I value yours guys, so please pop them in the comments section. And if I've missed anything out, definitely let me know, because it helps me learn even more and it adds to the fun of the whole experience. So thanks for watching guys, let's get on with it. So the first watch in question here is the Steeldive. Now, I'm going to quickly run through all the stats and specs. So starting with the weight of this watch, this weighs with the bracelet 151 grams, and here is the bracelet. And on its supplied rubber band, it's only 97 grams. So it's a lightweight watch. The sizes are, the case diameter is 40 millimeters across there. Its lug is 20 mil, as are all the others, but I will still go over that. The thickness is 13.4 millimeters. And the lug to lug, which is the length of the watch, on this strap is only 47.4 millimeters. It'll be a touch longer when it's put on this bracelet because of this aspect here. It's only going to add maybe 3 or 4 millimeters. It's still a well-fitting watch. Now, I got this watch on loan from steeldiveuk.com, and they have the best prices available for this and many other Steeldive watches. Now, I got this watch within 2 days as it's from the UK. Do bear in mind their stock levels change very frequently, so check on their website as well very regularly so you can get an idea of how soon they've got watches coming in, and the range is changing all the time. Now, with a Watch Me with Watches 5 discount code, which I'm just going to pop here, you'll get this watch for £90. It's fantastic value for money on that respect. So that's where I recommend you get it from, and use my discount code to get it for an even better price. Now I'm going to quickly fly through all the materials and the other aspects of the watch, which you can see here. Now the bezel is 60 click action, lovely snapping action on there. It's a fully lumed bezel as well. The ceramic bezel insert is really well finished. We've got a combination of brushed and polished finishing on the case. You have a lovely detailed etched design on the back, as we do on the crown, which is very nice. And the crown, initially this was a bit stiff, so I lubricated it with a little bit of oil from my watch repair kit. You can use a little bit of silicone on there. It's the best use, and try not to overdo it. But that freed it off, and it screws in, hand winds, got a ghost position on the middle section, because this is the NH35 movement, which does have a date wheel, but it's hidden under there. You can get this watch with the date complication as well if you like, with a cyclops. I went for the neutral design because I prefer that. And the movement is very reliable and keeping excellent time. They often do these NH35s. And the crown screws in nice and easily. And this has 200 meters water resistance, sapphire glass, and AR coating. And the case and the bracelet is all made out of 316L stainless steel. Now I'm going to quickly show you the bracelet, and the reason why I like to keep it on the rubber is a criticism of the bracelets on these, which I understand Steeldive are constantly evolving and improving, which is great positive news. It's proactive behaviour, which we like. Decent enough looking materials, but it's the honing which needs to be improved a bit. It feels quite cheap, and the finishing is a little bit coarse. As you can see, look at the ridges on the underside there. It's not great, and it's just, as you can see, it's a little bit unrefined is the best way to put it. And because it's unrefined, that means it's going to be more likely to feel a bit scratchy and snag on your hairs on your arm. So that's something to bear in mind with the bracelet at the moment on this. And it has solid end links, but they don't fit fantastically well in there. They're a little bit, they don't fit flush with there. That's why I'm keeping it on the rubber, because I think it suits this rubber, and I think it'd also suit a tropic as well, which will be more in keeping with this more slightly vintage design which they've got on this watch. So pros and cons. Pros are fantastic spec for the money. It's really well made. Very few flaws apart from the slightly stiff crown when I got it, and the bracelet is only average, but everything else is really good and definitely worth your attention. So that's my quick, super mini fast ultra review of the Steeldive Marine. So the Pagani design PD1661 is, on its standard bracelet, was 144 grams, and it's 146 on this different Gikota one, which I put it on because it's a better quality and it has all brushed, whereas the standard bracelet has a mixture of polishing and brushed, and it's decent enough quality, but I prefer the feel of this one. And also, because of the design of this watch, there's a nice little hidden feature here, which is hidden normally by the solid end links, where it says Pagani design. I like to be able to see that. That's really cool. Little hidden treat if you take the bracelet off. Now, the dimensions are, it's 40.8, so very similar to all the others. It has a lug of 20, again, same as all the others. Thickness is only 12.6, which is a little bit slimmer than the others. And lug to lug is 47, so the length of the watch. So proportionally, it is, again, very well balanced and very comfortable in size. Now, as you see here, I've changed the dial on the hands because I wanted to do a mod on this watch, because this has the Seiko NH35 movement from Seiko, and because of that, it has the ability for you to buy aftermarket parts, such as dials and hands, and they fit perfectly. And I want you to check out my review of doing that and my mod guide to show you how fun and easy it is to make your own personal adjustments. I value your opinion of this design. I did it for my own personal taste. I wanted to have something that was very legible and very colourful. I did originally put it on a red leather, but I put it on this bracelet because I felt that there was a bit too much red going on when I put that on. And the good thing about modding is you can change your mind, and that's the fun bit. And it does welcome debate and opinion, which is always what I welcome. So before I made the modifications to this watch, the flaws on this watch were the bezel didn't line up with the 12 o'clock position, the insert, so I realigned that. You can see how I do that in my mod video. Then the cyclops it had, because this used to have a date wheel, didn't line up. I also discuss how you can remove a cyclops. Then the bracelet, again, I wasn't 100% happy with, and it wasn't as comfortable as I'd like, so I've changed that out. So the flaws on this watch were putting me off a little bit, But because of how easy it is to modify one of these watches, you could buy it with the mindset of thinking, well, if you want to give certain things a go, and there are some issues that bother you a little bit with the fit and finish of your watch, you can make the improvements, such as what I have done on this watch. If that's not your bag, bear in mind, Pagani Design's quality control isn't always very good, but a lot of those things can be rectified quite easily. So the materials of this watch is all 316L stainless steel, ceramic bezel insert, the dial is sapphire, mineral underneath. Seiko NH35 movement is keeping excellent time. I haven't timed it, but I know it is very, very good. Now, the other thing you must know about this watch is the lume on the standard Pagani design was a bluey colour. And here's a picture of how it looked before. Although it looks pretty and it photographs well, it wasn't very strong, very bright or long lasting. That's one of the reasons why, seeing as this is a diver sports watch, I wanted good legibility and good lume, hence why I did the upgrades. Now I'm going to just show you a picture here of where you can buy this watch, and it's an example of how much the prices fluctuate. So this watch is currently available for approximately £70. I got this, one of the first models that was released, about a month ago, and it cost me £79. So it does fluctuate in price. So keep your eyes peeled if you are interested in this watch. Now the tactile aspects of this watch are pretty good. Start with the bezel action. It's very light, 60 click, and it's very positive. Little bit of play going forwards, but that's because I think it's a 60 click bezel and you don't have that extra little increment for you to click into it. So it's a 1 second click each time. So the bezel action is light, positive, and enjoyable to use. Now the crown action is also very good. It's smooth to unwind, it doesn't bind, there's no grinding, hand winding for the movement. This now will have the ghost position for the date because I've hidden it with this new dial, so it doesn't matter. And then again, a smooth action to adjust the time, and it screws in very easily. And it has a signed crown, which with a tiny tweak lines up straight. And also bear in mind the finishing on the side of this I did with 240 grit sandpaper, then with a scouring pad in straight lines. I gave it the brushed finish because I think it looks nicer with a more brushed finish on the sides. Just again, there's another mod to do, but this does come as standard with the sides being polished. So on this new dial, I'll show you a side-by-side lume comparison shot at the end of doing my mini reviews of the full watches. So now we move on to the harness. Now I'm going to start with the weight. The weight of this watch on the standard bracelet we have here is 137 grams. And with the leather strap I put it on, was suede leather from Gakota, it weighs only 89. It's a 40mm case size, very comfortable spot. Then the lug is still 20, lug width there for the strap changes. The thickness is a little bit slimmer than the others, it's 12.8. And the lug to lug, very similar to all the others, 47.7. So the length there. Has a signed crown. Now the lume is average on this watch, and I'll show you later. I actually say poor. It's actually poor. That's not fair to call it average because the Pagani is average, the harness is poor, and I'll show you a bit later on. The modifications I've done to this watch are as follows. I've removed the paint from the bezel insert, and part of the reason is because I had a massive cock up when I was excessively using a blowtorch, which you've probably seen in one of my other videos, for removing the Cyclops. But the best way to remove a Cyclops more safely and appropriately is with a jet lighter, because it's got a less aggressive sized flame and you can pinpoint the jet flame on the Cyclops and it pops off. Another way of doing it is to remove the bezel insert by soaking this in nail polish remover for approximately an hour, and then it slides out. Then you can not risk damaging the paint or any discoloration on your ceramic bezel. It's more likely to be the paint. A lighter's not going to damage the ceramic because this has been oven baked anyway, so it's very resilient and strong. Now, I removed the Cyclops because it didn't magnify very well and it was wonky. So double fail. I can still read that, so I don't need a Cyclops. And I actually prefer it with this more stealthy paint removed from the bezel. So I was pleased with how the mod ultimately went. Now it's a 90 click bezel, but the bezel action on the harness is fantastic, I must say. It's very, very, there's no bounce or play at all. Really good. I'm extremely impressed. As I am with the crown feel. Screw down crown. There's no official water resistance rating on this watch, which is a bit of a negative because I can't test it myself and I don't know whether I would trust it or not. But seeing as there is a little gasket in there, and it is a screw case back, I've had the back of this off to check the movement. It's a Mingzhu movement. It's a Chinese made movement and it keeps reasonable time. It's running quite fast, but not out of the parameters which they set as a guideline for these types of watches. So that's still acceptable considering the price point. So the crown action is good as well. It screws in very neatly and I like that it's signed, but it's a shame that it's upside down. I think that's luck when you get that sort of thing. So it's brushed and polished finishing as standard. And the standard bracelet is okay. But the major flaw I found was the lugs, the holes that allow the end links to go into the watch, that they just don't line up very well. And I had a nightmare when I took this bracelet off and tried to put it back on again. It was very difficult to line up the pin because it was so wonky. I'm exaggerating. It was probably out of squiff that way to get the pin, the spring bar to go into the holes in the lugs. So there was a quality control issue there. And that's the kind of thing, again with Parnis watches, you're occasionally going to get quality control issues to surprise you here and there. But for this price, they were very minimal, hence why I'm keeping this watch, because I think it is very acceptable. And I love the chocolatey sunburst style, or coffee, depends on your eyesight. I just think about chocolate and coffee all the time. So it's nice to wear a watch where I can make my own special edition, which you can do a lot with these Parnis watches. You can mod them and it's really fun to change a few things out. So you can change the bezel inserts and you can mod the dial and hands, but I've had an easier experience in finding parts for when I modded the Pagani. So last but by no means least is the Invicta Pro Diver. Now this watch used to be deemed excellent value for money and one of the go-to choices for many for getting a Submariner homage watch for approximately £100. Now, as you can see here from this clip, I'm going to just pop up a picture. I took this today and the price was over £100 for this watch. So just as a reminder, all the other watches that are in this review before this one are £20 to £40 less in price to this one. Now the spec of this watch is not as good as the others. The size of this watch is good. I'm going to run through the dimensions now. Now, first of all, the weight. I can't give you the weight with it on this original bracelet because my friend Jim, who lent me this watch, gave it to me with it on this black rubber. So it's going to be very similar in weight to the other watches because of the size and the movement. So the weight on this rubber strap is 91 grams. So it's light. It's going to be approximately 140 to 150 on the standard steel bracelet, which again, from what I understand, is an average quality bracelet. It's not terrible, but it's not great. Now the size of this watch, it is 40mm case diameter, again very similar to the others, lugs the same at 20. The thickness is a little bit chunkier with a, as you can see, a more slightly domed screw case back, and that is 13.6 overall thickness, has a 47.2 lug to lug. Now screw down crown, it does have 200 meters water resistance, and that is an excellent feature to have. It's a dive watch, so it should have good water resistance. The lume on this is average to poor. It's not quite as good as the Pagani, and it's a bit better than on the Parnis. So I'll show you again in the side-by-side shot at the end of the lume for all of these watches. The reason why this doesn't represent excellent value for money is because although it's made with 316L stainless steel, the bezel insert is only aluminium, whereas all the others have ceramic, which is a more scratch resistant and more premium material to have, and has a nicer finish. Then the glass on this is not sapphire, it's mineral, so it's more likely to scratch up a bit. So this is going to get scruffier looking quicker, and the fact it costs more than the others, it's going to start to look a bit scruffy quicker than the cheap watches, which is not really what you want. And another issue is this Cyclops doesn't quite line up. It's a bit too low. So I'm holding this dead square. It's another problem with Cyclops. The reason why I always take mine off is I just can't stand them not being straight or magnifying enough. Now I'm going to move on to some tactile aspects that is a bit squiffy on this. It's the bezel action. Although relatively positive, 120 click, it's very stiff. And this seized up. My friend Jim wore this to the beach for the day, got it a bit wet, and that was enough for it to have a bit of a seizure problem. So I really had to oil it with some silicone grease oil, and it helped it a lot, but it's still not very good. And the bezel is not as grippy as you would expect for a bezel that is this stiff. You need it to be grippy if it's going to be a bit of a stiff bezel. Now, the crown action is also very good. Screw down, as you'd expect for a dive watch, and the fact it's an NH35, all the movement and winding and aspects of it feel very good, as you'd expect. They're all the same. Anything with a Seiko NH35, generally the crown feel is going to be the same, but the threading is also exceptionally good. The finishing is also really smart, very well done. Mixture again of polishing and brush on the top, and you have the Invicta logo on the side, which adds their own little bit of a design influence as well. Now, the design of this, the indices are quite small, and the lume isn't great, but I do think it still looks like a attractive dial design, even though legibility isn't quite as good as maybe the others. So you can see how much value for money watches have moved on, and the fact that this, even discounted, is over £100. And just to do a quick comparison, the spec of a Pagani, which is $79, is better. It has maybe not agreeably the best movement compared to maybe a Seiko NH35, but it's not a terrible movement. It's cheap as chips, so if it fails, you could swap it out. You could put a myota in there because this will accommodate a myota as well. It has ceramic, it has equally poor lume, maybe a bit worse than this, and it's just as legible, has a sunburst dial, and branding wise, Invicta is not that respected in the watch world. Parnis is an unusual name. So it's so close, it really is. But I digress, because this is the last watch I'm doing my super snappy quick review of, and now it's worth me showing you what these all lined up look like with their lume, and I'll do a final comparison and final conclusion. So there we have it, guys. I hope I've been thorough enough for you and given you a good indication of what these watches offer individually, and value for money for you is personal preference. The design, the features, all those tactile aspects, you're all going to have your own decisions and your own opinions, and that is the beauty of buying watches. I'm so happy to have shared my opinions with you, and I managed to squeeze it into about 23-minute video, 24 minutes, which is maybe a record for doing 4 watches. It takes me about long just normally to do one. Maybe I'm learning, so maybe my next review for one watch will be a bit shorter. So unless you want me to do long videos, let me know. If you like long videos, let me know. If you want them a bit shorter, let me know. As long as you're entertained, I'm happy. And if I've entertained you in this video, don't forget to like, don't forget to comment. I'd love to hear your opinions on these watches. Definitely the bad ones, because they're the best. And I also would value you subscribing. Supports the channel, and I look forward to you joining the gang. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.